Hi all, Darren Hansborough from DA Components. We talked about the pole holders, and we can supply and fit if you're in the local area. However, the brackets are going to be available on the website. So here's my top tips and tricks, what tools to use and how to fit them in various vans. First of all, what you need to check in your van is these support strut beams in your van. So my van's got three, 1, 2, 3. As you can see, I've actually used 2 of them, so one at the front and one at the back here. I've never used the middle one because I don't really need it, to tell the truth. There's enough. The brackets are really that robust. It doesn't need the 3 to hold them up. So you can buy the actual brackets, and it comes with all the fittings, the actual bolts and the screws and everything, so you can go down the road and fit that yourself. You just need to measure the distance where the bolts are, and then you need a hole puncher like so, and then you need to measure where you need to measure it, and then make a mark. And what that does, it puts a little dentation of where to drill, so the drill bit doesn't spin off and doesn't go everywhere. It just directs you to where to drill. So that's how you would measure it up on your support beams, and then you get your drill bit, and you make it a little bit bigger, and you get a drill bit with a bit of tape around the edge of it, just so it stops it. If you have a drill bit that goes all the way through, it might catch the top of your roof, it might take it through. You don't want that, do we? So even if you put a bit of tape around the edge of it, so it's just enough to go through the actual support steel. So that's how I would measure them. Measure the distance for the bracket, make an indentation with a hole punch, drill your holes, so you've got the drill holes ready. Then you will need to get a riv nut actual gun, but I'll put a link in the description so you know where to get them from. And then to actually get the actual soil pipe, your local tool station, stroke, screw fix, or even B&Q. So that's where you get the actual soil pipe from. So if you come to a vehicle where there's only, let's say the middle one has only got a support beam in, you can use that middle one, and that gives you the bracket here. But then it comes to, where am I going to fit the next brackets to hold the end? So with a bulkhead like this, we do have an additional mounting bracket for a bulkhead bracket. So you will need like a flat bit of the surface where it is, so you will have to measure where you think you're going to fit it. And then what you would do here, you would actually screw this to the bulkhead, and then once that's actually mounted into there, the actual soil pipe actually slides into the bulkhead bracket, and that gives it its bracket, so it would theoretically be like that, screwed into there, and then the middle bracket would be mounted there. So that's how you would mount the bulkhead bracket if you only had one support strut. Now to mount this, it'll be exactly the same as if you were going to put a hole punch here to mark the actual where the drill bit goes. So you do your calculations, your measurements, and you'll come to here, and then you'll see the dentation there. Before you drill that hole there to mount the riv nut, because I think it'd be best to have a riv nut behind there, so it just gives it a little bit more stability. You can use a self-tapping screw if you really wanted to, but on a personal note, I think the riv nuts are better. Just before you drill in the back of there, just check behind the seat and see what's behind there. I don't think there'll be no cables in your bulkheads. And then once you fit the riv nut with the riv nut gun, you can actually fire. It does have 2 holes here ready for the actual fixings to be fitted in. So once you've got that all fitted into there, you'll screw that onto there. So once that's screwed on, you would have your bracket fitted here. You would slide your tube in, and as you tighten this bracket up here, which would be this bottom bit, you would push on the end of the actual tube just to keep it taut in the back of the bulkhead bracket. So as you're pulling that taut, you tighten your screw and you put your end caps on. So this here is the bulkhead bracket if you've only got one supporting strut beam inside your van. So I hope you found the video interesting and helpful. Any more questions? Feel free to leave them in the comments. Thanks a lot. Darren from DA Components.